Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and it's that time of the month. We have 10 exciting games coming out this month in November, so without further ado, let's just jump right into it. The first game on the list is a game coming out the 2nd of November, and it's DORAEMON, Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom. This is a crossover between the classic farming game Story of Seasons and DORAEMON. And it's the second time they've done this crossover since this is a sequel to DORAEMON Story of Seasons. It's a farming game, as you can see, and it's set in the universe of DORAEMON. You fish, water crops, raise animals, all with DORAEMON's cool and wacky gadgets. If you haven't seen DORAEMON, it's like this show with this little blue fella, and he has loads of cool gadgets that Nobi likes to use for its own advantage, and I loved the series when growing up, and I know this isn't really what the show is normally about, but man, I'm just always happy to see anything DORAEMON. Go to the sky or to the bottom of the ocean to harvest rare crops. And there's also added offline 2-player co-op, which wasn't in the first DORAEMON Story of Seasons. This way you can run a farm together with your friend, and yeah, who doesn't like that? We also have to take a second to look at this gorgeous art style. I just get in such a good mood looking at it. Make precious memories together in DORAEMON Story of Seasons, Friends of the Great Kingdom, when it comes the 2nd of November. The second game on the list is Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, or TABS for short. It's a fighting simulator with really wobbly physics, and the characters' names are also wobblers, so we're on theme here. You send these wobblers in battle in all sorts of different time ages, medieval, stone age, or fantasy worlds. And in the campaign of the game, you stand against your enemies' units, which you can prepare to as you like. You plan these units and strive for victory, but you can't just plant all the units you want. You have limited amount of money that you can spend on these fellas, so think hard about which ones you'd like, because that is really what makes the difference in the end. On top of that, your units aren't restricted to the different time ages like your enemies are, so you can have whatever you've unlocked along the way to defeat your enemies. And when the campaign turns old and you don't want to use the 100 plus units there are, well, you can play against your friends online and create your own units in Unit Creator when this game arrives the 3rd of November. And also on the 3rd of November we have Ghost Song, and this is a game you Metroidvania fans will probably love. It's a classic Metroidvania. You explore the lands, get power-ups to your suit, and then come back to places that were previously inaccessible to you. And don't expect this game to be easy. These boss fights are really hard, and the enemies will test your skills. The game starts off at the surface of a desolate moon called Lorien, where you've just crashed your ship. You thus descend into these dark alien tunnels, and while you might feel lonely, you have tons of enemies to fight with both range combat with your blasters and in melee combat, which is more risky but does more damage. This game actually has a cool backstory because it got greenlit on Kickstarter almost a decade ago. Back then it looked much more akin to a classic Metroid game you can see here. Just look how far they've come. It's absolutely incredible, and I'm just glad that they actually went ahead and finished it. You know, since almost 10 years you would think that, well, this game didn't become anything, they just cashed in and then they just left. But no, this looks just really polished, really nice, and I can't wait to play it on my OLED Switch. It's gonna look so good when it releases the 3rd of November. A day later we have a game I'm super stoked about, and It Takes Two. Probably the best co-op game I've ever played. So for those of you who don't know, this game is made specifically for co-op. You can't play it alone. So you can either play with a friend on the couch, which I recommend, but you can also for free invite a friend with a friend pass to play online. This game won Game of the Year last year, so you know this is serious business. This game, well, while it has genres like it's a co-op game and stuff, it just changes how it plays all the time. Every level has a unique character ability. You can become a wizard, wield the power of time, teleport, grow to massive sizes. Like, this game just keeps bursting with new ideas left and right, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. They're really good at introducing these new things where it just feels fun. In this game you're playing as these two tiny figures, so you'll explore everything from kids' playrooms to the inside of a snow globe. Now, I won't spoil the story, I think you should experience this as blind as possible, but what I will say that this story is just really beautiful and sad because it's about a couple which relationship isn't quite what it used to be. It's made by Hazelight, who also made the game A Way Out, an equally good co-op masterpiece, so these guys know what they're doing. It's just fantastic that this game is finally on Switch, and it's even more cool because it's just meant to be. The Switch already has 2 controllers out of the bat, so you don't need to go out and buy another controller if you really want to play this. It's one of the best games I've ever played, so just do yourself a favor and get this when it releases the 4th of November. The 5th game on the list is Harvestella. It's a farming RPG. You could even say that this is Square Enix's Rune Factory. You tend to crops, fish, befriend townsfolk, but you also explore a massive world where you'll find cities, dungeons, meet new allies, and battle against monsters in the quest for materials. You live in this beautiful little village that goes through different seasons, but there is an inevitable threat that must be stopped, or there could be terrible consequences. This phenomenon is called quietus, and it's a season of death that comes at the turn of each season. Crops withers, and there's a thing called dust of death that prevents the people of the town to even walk outside. So if you want to stop this quietus and just like a good farming RPG, Harvestella might be something for you. Are you still a bit on the fence? You're in luck because there's a free demo out right now. And then if you've played it off and it looks fantastic, well, you don't have to wait long because the 4th of November Harvestella releases on Nintendo Switch. The next game a lot of people are very excited about. It's Sonic Frontiers. It's the first Sonic game that is, truly open world, and you have 5 open world, I think zones they're calling it. You zoom around performing platform challenges, solving puzzles, fighting against enemies where you circle around them, and it just looks to be one of, if not the biggest Sonic experience yet, and there's good reason why people are excited. If you don't like zooming around in this open world, well, there's also cyberspace levels scattered around, and these are more classic 3D platforming sections that you see in other 3D Sonic games. You do everything at your own pace, but in the end, you need to find the Chaos Emeralds in these strange lands. I myself can't wait to jump into this game because I've not looked up much about it. It's all very mysterious, and from what we've seen in the trailers, yeah, we see Sonic running around, but we've only really seen 1 or 2 of these giant worlds, and I can't wait to go in blind and experience these for the first time. So check out Sonic Frontiers when it releases on Nintendo Switch the 8th of November. The 7th game on the list is coming out the 8th of November as well, and it's Sifu. In this game, you play as a young Kung Fu student that witnessed a family member get killed, and you set out to take revenge. It's classic Kung Fu combat with a twist. Every time you die, you respawn, but a bit older. The older you get, the less health you'll have, but you throw harder punches because you have more experience. If you become too old though, you die and it's game over. The game has 5 lengthy levels with a boss fight at the end, and it may sound short, but it's actually a really hard game and you really have to practice to get your skill to the best it can be. Learn from your mistakes, unlock new abilities as you kung fu your way to revenge the 8th of November. The next game comes out the 11th day of the 11th month. It's Tactics Ogre Reborn. It's a Square Enix classic tactical RPG, and it's supposed to be one of the very best. This is an enhanced port of the 2010 PSP remake of the Super Famicom game. Take battle as the soldier Denim Powell, caught in the middle of a war in the nation of Valera. And the gameplay aspects are split into 2 modes, battles and worldview. In the worldview, the player can do multiple things, including managing their units, use the shop, and move between locations on the world map. These battles can then occur randomly or when in need to progress the story. And there's different chapters, and in these chapters you can then choose a good or bad path depending on your actions. Loads of characters to recruit as you battle to the death, make sacrifices, and fight for freedom the 11th of November. The penultimate game on this list is Atari 50, also releasing the 11th of November. Atari turns 50 years old, and thus this game is like a celebration of Atari. Over 100 Atari games, and you might think, oh, this is just going to be a collection, and yes, it is that, but it's also more of a celebration. It brings together iconic IPs, creators and individuals, with the company's history all laid out in front of the player in various forms. It's a timeline of sorts. There's never before heard stories, posters, dev interviews, and even games that never saw the light of day. You might sit and read about Atari bowling, see a poster, and then get to play the game with your newfound knowledge. There's also games being reimagined with newer hardware, for example Atari Combat. It's great for people who grew up with Atari, but also for newcomers who just want to learn more about the history and actually try these games out, maybe for the first time. It just looks like a giant passion project for Atari, and they really deserve it, since they are the reason that the gaming industry is where it is today. So check out Atari 50 when it releases the 11th of November. And here we are, the last game on the list, and it's probably the one everyone has been waiting for. It's Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Coming out the 18th of November, this is Gen 9 of Pokémon. And it's the first, well, truly open world Pokémon game. It's as if Legends Arceus and mainline Pokémon games were mixed. Set in the new region Paldea, inspired by Mediterranean Spain. There's new Pokémon and starters, professors, rivals, everything you would expect from a new Pokémon game. And now you can choose the gym battles in the order you like in true open world fashion. And on top of that, there's 3 different storylines this time instead of the I want to become the very best, let me beat all the gym leaders and come to the top. Maybe there's also a bit of Team Rocket sprinkled in there. But this time there's 3 different story paths that you can freely choose from, like which one you want to do first and in which order, and that's just really cool. Terrestrialization is the new gimmick of this Pokemon game, as you can turn Pokemons into other types. For example, you can turn a water type into a grass type. Co-op play is also improved from Sword and Shield, where now you're able to run around the whole region instead of just select few open world sections. But how are you traveling across these vast open world plains? Well, it's with your legendaries, so if you really want one specific, be sure to choose the correct Pokemon game. Set out on an epic adventure where you choose either Fuecoco, Sprigatito, or Quaxley as your starter the 18th of November. And there you have it. Those were the 10 exciting games coming out in November. Which ones are you picking up? Are there any that I missed in this list? Well, let us know down in the comments below, and if you like this video, don't forget to check out our website, nintendolab.com, for all sorts of Nintendo related content. Yeah, stay safe, play some video games here in November, and I'll see you in the next one. Felix from Nintendo Live, out!